and I'm speaking to you from Camano Island at the Camano Hermitage. On this beautiful day, I can see Port Susan Bay and Mount Baker here in the distance, and yes, it's Tuesday, so those of you who watch the show from time to time know that the weekly garbage truck might come by today to entertain us. For today, I have a very brief poem, actually, by Paramhansa Yogananda. This was published originally in his magazine, Inner Culture, in January 1937. And it's on the subject of friendship. It's very brief. Some souls become our own. Some others whom we oft meet forever remain unknown. And yet, in whispers, Dame Wisdom says, to love your own and the unknown alike are heaven's ways. A lovely little poem, Yogananda offering to us, encouraging us, inviting us to love all, whether we feel close to them or not, as our very own. The question of friendship is, of course, a vitally important one in our life, because if we can't have at least one close friend, a friend who has and shares our high ideals, and one who seeks what is true and best for two friends, one for another, it's not likely we're going to win the love of God. There are some souls who are born and are at the latter stages of their enlightenment who perhaps go off to caves or that sort of thing for the rest of their lives, and they have earned that right to do that. But those are rare souls. The rest of us must follow the precepts that Jesus quoted from the Old Testament to love God and to love your neighbor as yourself. In other words, it is all God. We are one. So to exclude the one or the other doesn't work. Many people there are two kinds of people. Those who are very personal and those who incline to be impersonal. Now, I'm saying that half jokingly because we ourselves are personal and as personal as we could ever be, so how can we really be impersonal? We probably can't. It would take a very high degree of non-attachment to the body and to the ego to be truly termed an impersonal person. Moreover, Lord Krishna, when asked what's the best way to seek God, whether in the impersonal way, or in abstract form, or whether in more personal, devotional way, he answered without a beat that the personal relationship with God is far easier for the embodied soul in human form. Nonetheless, there are those who profess no particular interest in religion or spirituality or in seeking God, but who are kind, compassionate, respectful, self-sacrificing even. Those are virtuous ways, and such virtuous ways, when compared with others who consider them, here comes the garbage truck, who consider themselves devotees and who pray and do rituals and make big donations, but who are by temperament and habit unkind people. Which, O Lord Krishna, is the best versed in yoga? Well, I say with some confidence that the truth seeker, the devotee, however flawed he or she may be in his or her habits and personality, is the knower of yoga, because we have the free will to seek God or to reject God, whether out of indifference or consciously, most people being simply preoccupied with other desires and necessities and circumstances to give any thought to God. Now, the advantage of being a virtuous person without seeking God is that it at least purifies the soul, purifies the consciousness from self-seeking, and can prepare the way quite beautifully, quite powerfully, to have rapid progress in seeking God when and if that turning point comes in that virtuous person's life to awaken to the search for God. I think one of the problems of virtue is it is its own reward, and therefore it tends to feed the ego. And being born of the ego, then, it is subject to change and duality. And so the virtuous person might achieve a certain amount of prosperity, status, and respect, and success, etc. But the way of the world, the way of the ego as doer, is always self-balancing. So when those things are taken away, the virtuous person has the opportunity to rethink his priorities and perhaps turn inward. But at the same time, having enjoyed success and so on, that virtuous person is more likely to want to grasp again for it, more likely to be resentful to the sources of his or her demise. And so it is that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, it has been said. Better a poorly equipped devotee, but sincere, than a highly equipped, highly successful, highly talented, virtuous person without devotion to God. Another feature I'd like to introduce here in this conversation, it doesn't flow from what I've said necessarily just a moment ago, but it flows more from what's on my mind. And that's the issue of goodness. I guess it flows from virtue to a certain degree. There are those who are Pollyannish, who are goody-goody, and some of those kinds of people hang around places like churches and organizations, faith organizations or humanitarian organizations. And to be good, again, virtuous, is a good thing. But even if now I'm going to speak of a good devotee, a devotee who expresses goodness, okay? But maybe not wisdom. Jesus Christ said, "Be as wise as serpents, but harmless as doves." Gullibility on the spiritual path often seems to be an outcome of wanting to see the highest in other people and in every circumstance, to see the silver lining in the clouds of challenges and the difficulties or negativity or bad habits of other people. And so it cannot be but applauded. On the other hand, there can either be the power of a group think that's trying to be virtuous, trying to be good, but are otherwise, as I said, devotees, that infects the mind and clouds the mind, rather, from the ability to see through the appearance of what is taking place in other people. There's no cure for that short of intuition. And the cure for intuition, the most powerful, efficacious cure for developing intuition, is meditation. But meditation, in order to be intuitive, has to achieve a level of quietude and stillness. If it starts with rousing devotion or strong affirmations or whatever, a powerful thought to achieve God or enlightenment, that's all fine. But the path to that is surrender. Surrender of our restless thoughts. Surrender of our egoically driven will and fears, desires. And so at some point we have to let go, whether in a singular meditation or over a lifetime of being a devotee. Be still and know, to receive from the higher soul mind, to receive from the grace of God through the Guru or in any other form. This is what produces wisdom. Wisdom is born of the heart. And I don't mean the emotional heart. I mean that deeply powerful, still heart that resides within each and every one of us. So better a devotee flawed than a virtuous person resting solely upon the shoulders of his or her own ego. Better a person, a devotee seeking goodness, than being a carping spirit and critical. But better than that is a devotee who combines wisdom with goodness. Okay, for goodness sake, I think I'm done. And